Hey, it's your real estate geek, Andrew Finney here. So today we're back with our home buying guide, 22 steps to your success with episode number 4, how to plan to buy your new house. There's 4 key takeaways that you'll learn from this video today. Number 1 is how to save money and what costs are involved in buying your new home. We'll talk about not only the cost involved in buying your new home, but also how best to save up that money and some little quick tricks that you might want to try to go ahead and start building up your money for your new home. Step number 2 that we're going to be looking at is we're going to take a closer look at defining your goals and your criteria, essentially your preferences for your new home. Step number 3 that we're going to be taking a look at is we're going to talk about how best to make your plans to buy your new home. And step number 4 that we're going to be considering is researching your options, specifically how to find a good real estate consultant and a really good loan officer. And we'll talk more about that in the next 2 series in the home buying guide. So, what really comes to mind here is a family that contacted me during the summer of 2016. And Emma and Nate had reached out to me. Actually, Emma was the first one that made contact with me on the phone. And she said, Andrew, we would like to know more about how to buy a home and we don't know where to begin. She sounded really nervous and really anxious. So I said, Emma, tell me what's going on. How does this house fit into your overall plans? What's your situation? And she said, well, my husband Nate and I and our 2 kids have been renting for about the last 15 years, and we're watching home prices escalate and listening to the news about the interest rates climbing and getting more expensive. And we're afraid that we're gonna get priced out of the market, and we just don't wanna be renters for the rest of our life. We wanna be able to invest to ourselves. She said, Nate and I are getting a little bit older, and we want to make sure that our kids have a home to grow up in, and when they leave the house, we want to have this house that we're going to be able to sell and put towards our retirement so that we can start living a better lifestyle, quality of life for ourselves and our family. And so that makes a lot of sense. And I said, why don't we do this, Emma? I said, why don't we set up a time that you and Nate can get together with me at the office, and then we can chat about your options and you can tell me more about your specific circumstances and how best I can help you. She said, okay. So then one day, Emma had called me and said, Andrew, we're ready for that meeting, and we set up a time to meet. When they got to my office, we started talking about what their struggles are and what they're going through right now. And Emma actually just broke down in tears. It was very touching, and I just was kind of at a loss initially. She had broke down in tears explaining to me, Andrew, we just don't have any savings. We have some money, but not a lot of money. We don't know what to do. We have credit card debts. We don't know how much a home is going to cost. We've heard about 0 down programs, but we don't know what to do. So I reached over to Emma and I just lightly put my hand on her shoulder and I said, Emma, it's going to be okay. Just take a deep breath and relax, and let's focus on one thing at a time. So I said, number 1, you're asking me about savings and how much it's going to cost to buy a home. I said, now the down payment on a home really depends on the loan program that you're going with. There's a lot of different useful tools out there. And here in Las Vegas, Nevada, we have a lot of really nice FHA loan programs that can be very beneficial to a lot of families. Let's take a look at those down payment amounts. And we talked about the 3.5% down FHA loan. We talked about what over here in Las Vegas is called a Home is Possible Nevada program, which is essentially a down payment assistance grant type program. So, and it works for a lot of families out here in Las Vegas. So after we had reviewed their options and discussed their different options from the loan type to loan type, they really said that they think that FHA was going to be the best fit for them. And I said, okay, so if we're talking about a $200,000 home, then you're going to need to plan for a 3.5% down payment. So 3.5% of $200,000 is $7,000. And she said, well, can we get the money from our family if maybe my parents or Nate's parents can help us out? And I said, yes, you can do that. It's called a gift letter, and we'll need to do that with the lender to make sure that we do that correctly. And she said, okay. And I said, now, whenever we open up escrow, we're going to have a home inspection. And depending on what state you're in, your home inspections may vary in cost. Here in Las Vegas, for the type of home that Emma and Nate were looking for, they generally cost somewhere between $200 and $250. Now, of course, the bigger the home, the more they cost, the more detailed the report or different type of inspections that you have going on, they may be different. So check with your local real estate agent to give you those costs and let you know more about that where you are right now. So once we covered that, then I shared with her that after that takes place, we're also going to be ordering the home appraisal. A lot of home appraisals seem to range between $500 and $700 for the home appraisal. Now those two items, even though they're considered part of buyer closing cost, are actually costs that are paid up front by you, the buyer. So we'll need to make sure we have that money available up front to be able to pay for those services. And I said, are you prepared for that? And Nate said, yeah, I think that we can do that if we just go ahead and start planning, but we got to come up with a savings plan, Andrew. I said, okay. Well, the last point that we're going to make on how much it's going to cost to buy your new home are the buyer closing costs. And I said, now we may be able to negotiate with the seller a little bit, and we may be able to help you get some or all of your buyer closing costs, or in some cases, we may not be able to get any. It just depends on the negotiation, how hot that specific property is, and what the seller is willing to do. And I said, so let's just go ahead and plan worst case scenario and factor a safe rule of thumb. When I've chatted with my lenders, that rule of thumb that's safe to plan for is 3% of the sales price. So going back to a $200,000 home, if you want to properly prepare for buyer closing costs, factor 3% or $6,000. So if you're following along in the numbers to buy your new home at a 3.5% down FHA loan on a $200,000 home is $7,000. 3% for your buyer closing cost is $6,000. So that's $13,000 they need to be prepared for. And they said, and again, now I had both of them holding each other, and they're right here in my office, and they're just crying. And I lean over the both of them, kind of give them a pat on the back, tell them it's going to be okay, Emma and Nate, we got this. Let's now take a look at your financial situation. I said, keep in mind, I am not a financial advisor, and if you're more comfortable with a financial advisor, I can talk to one of my lenders and ask them to recommend one for you. I said, but as just a human being, as a homeowner myself, we can all figure out a budget together that's going to work for you. So we went through some of their financials, specifically how much they were paying for rent, how much they were paying for their car notes, how much they were paying for their credit cards, and any other debts that they had going out, as well as all the money coming in. And Emma had actually worked at one of the casinos out here, so she also got paid tips. So we discussed that as well. So after we looked at that, we found that Emma and Nate had probably developed a habit, like many of us have developed, where you go to the store, you buy these small things, but once we started looking over the financial, we realized all these small purchases that Emma and Nate were making were actually coming up to like 20% of their total monthly income. And so I said, okay guys, tell me if we can knock this down. Obviously we have expenses, we have food, we have stuff, but these small things here that are adding up to so much of your overall budget, what can we do with it? And they said, well, we don't even really use a lot of that stuff. And I said, then why are you spending money on it if you're not really using it? And they gave me a blank stare. They said, Andrew, that's a great question. I don't know why we're doing that. I said, okay, for the purposes of buying your home, can you get in the habit of thinking that through before you want to make a purchase, and perhaps setting up a system of accountability amongst the two of you that say, I'm at the store right now, I'm thinking of buying this product that I know we really don't need. Should I buy it? Call Nate, and Nate, you call Emma when you get those thoughts when you're at the store, and then bounce it off of each other before you spend money on it so that you can start saving money. And they found it to be really, really effective, which was so cool. So they come back to me a couple months later and say, Andrew, we've been able to save so much money. We're excited. Now we don't have to ask our family for some of that money that we're going to need for the down payment. I think we still may need to ask for some of the buyer closing costs from our family, but we're super stoked, and we think that maybe in 4 or 6 months we should be ready. I said, I'm so excited for you. Let's keep in touch, and then let's move on whenever you're ready. So about 6 months actually went by, and Nate called me and said, Andrew, I think we're ready to meet with you again. Can we set something up? I said, sure, let's go ahead and set it up. We pin it in. We met up at my office again, and now the question was how best to define what they're looking for in their new home. Of course, many of us kind of get dream shopping. We get excited, we get carried away. We want homes that may be beyond our price point, and or maybe we just want a lot of things in our home that's not realistic for the current market. So I said, what are we looking for? And they said, well, we want a 4-bedroom home. It has to be 4 bedrooms. We need 2.5 bathrooms, a 2-car garage, and it needs to be on a bigger lot so we have a yard for a pool if it doesn't already have a pool. I said, okay. So let's look at everything. Let's get you in contact with a good lender, a good local lender that can help you and review your options and see where we're at financially and how much you can get approved for. Well, we went through that process and we found that what they were looking for in their new home wasn't matching the amount of the loan pre-approval they got from the lender. Good thing was they did get pre-approved, so they got all their ducks in a row, and kudos to Emma and Nate for getting that done. So what happened is we started talking about the main things and what are the most important features of the home. How many bedrooms do they realistically need? We found they only needed 3. And we found that they only needed a home about 1,700, at a minimum, 1,700 square foot. And we definitely realized that area preference was extremely important for them, given the proximity to their jobs and their commute and their lifestyle. Area was something that was really important to them, and they hadn't really considered that before. So once we started looking at that and forming a picture, we were able to look at the multiple listing service together, identify the price range of homes that they were approved for that matched their criteria. And after we did that, we found that we had about 20 or so homes in the multiple listing service that were really strong contenders. And then we were coming up for a game plan to go see those before too long. But then that brings us into researching your options. So when we're researching your options, things that you want to consider, and I'm kind of deviating from Emma and Nate's story a little bit here, but whenever you're considering your options and researching your options, you want to look for a good local real estate agent. And how do you define a good local real estate agent, you may be wondering? Well, Google them. Look at their reviews. Read into those reviews and make sure that agent that you're talking to has helped at least 12 families over the past 12 months at a minimum. Because you want an agent that's full-time as an agent, not part-timing it, an agent that's always going to be in there and always taking your call, always getting back to you, and knows the market and the process because they're in it all the time. If you take a look at the reviews and they have 5-star reviews, great. If they have 4-star reviews, that's okay too. If they got anything in the mix, okay. But take a look and see what actual people said that worked with them. Take a look at the families, the individuals that had bought or sold a home with that agent, and read into it and see if that's something that you're comfortable with. The same thing applies to your local loan officer. And you notice I am saying a local loan officer. The reason I keep repeating local loan officer is because they will know, he or she will know what loan programs are specific to your state, to your county, and to your city, and if there's any specialty programs out there that may be more beneficial for you than a different loan product. And don't you want that at the end of the day is a loan officer that's going to have your back with a real estate agent that's going to have your back representing you and your best interest? Something to consider if you haven't done so already. So that's about researching your options. So then the next thing is making your plan. How do you make your plan? After you've instituted that savings plan, after you've instituted your defined goals for what you're looking for, you found that local real estate agent and a local loan officer that you want to work with, then it's time to come up with a game plan. Let your agent know what your schedules looks like for showing availability, what you're considering, and how quickly you would like to go through the process. Because here's an interesting thing, and this happened for Emma and Nate too. Whenever we worked together, we were able to go from, actually once they got their loan pre-approval letter, we were able to help Emma and Nate find their brand new home within only 5 days. And we looked at a total of, I think, about 8 or 9 homes before we put the offer in on the home that we ultimately got the offer accepted on with the terms that they needed to move into their new place. So that's really, really important to note. If you're working with a really good local real estate agent and a local loan officer, that local real estate agent is going to know the homes that are available and be able to help you best find those homes that best match your criteria. I mean, at the end of the day, it sounds attractive, or some people may think it sounds attractive to go see like 800 homes or 100 homes or 20 homes because you don't want to be rushed into a decision or feel rushed or feel like you're making the wrong decision. And that certainly makes a lot of sense. At the same time, when's the last time you ever saw 3 or 4 of anything and you remember the first one? Now, you may have the memory of the elephant out there if you're watching this. You might be that person that can remember everything meticulously. Most people, and working with the over 110 or so families I worked with at this point, have found that refining that list down, going to view those top 3 to 5 favorite homes was a very, very efficient use of time in the office and very, very powerful for them whenever we implemented that plan that we made together, resulting in their success, just like Emma and Nate were able to buy their new home We would love for you to be able to do the same. I certainly hope that you've been able to take a lot of information, especially about that savings portion, because when you're looking at how best to plan to buy a home, it really starts with your savings. And just know, with a lot of loan programs out there, that you have zero down options. You have traditional down payment amounts. Conventional loans can go down to 1% now. There's 3%, 5%, and obviously all the way up to 20%, or however many percent that you might want to put down on your new home loan, with different credit score requirements. So take a look at that, get with that local real estate agent, get with that local loan officer, find out what's going to work best for your circumstances, and please read the reviews. Please do some due diligence. This is really too important for you to get wrong, and you really want to have the right team with somebody that cares and takes the time to understand, because that whole process with Emma and Nate before we successfully closed on their new home a few months ago, actually, I'm thinking a few months ago because it was during the summer 2016, but we actually closed on the new home back in the winter of last year. It just seemed like it was yesterday. But anyways, whenever you go through that process, that whole process is like 6 or 7 months before they actually got their loan pre-approval letter. You want that agent that's going to stick by your side, that's going to keep in touch with you and continually offer a value, offer a service, and help you be able to go from your point A to your point B. And just keep in mind, when you are meeting with your local real estate agent or your local loan officer, all this is a simple conversation about helping you get from point A to point B in the time that you want, and as best as possible with everything that you want in your new home. And that's what this is all about. It's just a simple conversation, nothing to be afraid of. And just like Emma and Nate, when they broke down in my office and cried, it's okay. A good local real estate agent or loan officer is going to be there for you, by your side, able to comfort you and soothe you and help you through going from confused to understanding to confident and comfortable and moving forward. That's been today's Home Buying Guide, 22 Steps to Your Success, episode number 4, How to Plan to Buy Your New House. So if you like this video and you found it useful, please go ahead and give us those thumbs up. If you haven't already done so, subscribe now, and by all means, please share it around. You never know who this video could help. I'm looking forward to coming back to you next Tuesday with a Home Buying Guide, 22 Steps for Your Success, episode number 5, How to Find a Great Local Real Estate Agent. If you have any comments or questions, please leave them in the comment section below. Looking forward to hearing from you, and enjoy an amazing day. Thank you.